Hello, and welcome to the March episode of Tambellini Group's Top of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Liz Farrell. In this episode, we're talking about blockchain in higher education. This topic couldn't be more timely, as it seems like every day we are all hearing more about blockchain. Just last week, we had a Super Bowl filled with so many advertisements for cryptocurrencies and services, which we know utilize blockchain technology. And recently, University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School of Finance, made big waves when they announced they would accept crypto as tuition for their new blockchain courses. So beyond knowing that blockchain is part of crypto and that it's gaining more adoption, its true value and applications are still an enigma to many. And there's a limited understanding in the higher ed community overall about what it can do. But that is changing slowly and surely every day. And our guest today, Dr. Feng Hou, is one of the visionary leaders we can thank for spreading the gospel of the power, benefits, and real-world applications of blockchain to transform so much in higher education. In fact, he has even played an influential role at a large portion of the select group of colleges and universities that have already forged ahead on implementing and applying blockchain technology, and more importantly, reaping the rewards and benefits from these projects. So he currently serves in a role with a very cool title, in my opinion. He is Chief Digital Evangelist at Maryville University in St. Louis. And at Maryville, Feng has and continues to be instrumental in leading initiatives in service of President Mark Lombardi's vision to be the first truly blockchain university, a Maryville Metaversity. Dr. Hou has also been a CIO for over 20 years. He teaches courses on blockchain at Maryville. He serves as the education vertical chair for the National Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, and he is regularly invited to speak on blockchain technology around the country to students, faculty, and higher education leaders. I don't think we could ask for a more knowledgeable and enthusiastic ambassador for blockchain in higher ed than Dr. Hou, and we are very lucky to have him take time out of his busy schedule today to enlighten us. So welcome, Feng.
Hello, Liz, and thank you for having me and looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have so much to talk about, and as I had mentioned to you when we last spoke, I feel like we could spend hours talking about this topic. I mean, at least I would be fascinated to talk about it for hours. And not only because of the future possibilities, but all the current blockchain projects that you are involved with at Maryville and beyond. And I know you're also active at advising and guiding other institutions in implementing blockchain technology. But let's start by setting the scene for what you do at Maryville. I mean, as I mentioned, I really like this title, Chief Digital Evangelist, but to be honest, it sounds more like a role suited for someone at a bleeding edge startup than at a university founded in 1872. So can you describe for us what you do as Chief Digital Evangelist at Maryville?
Absolutely, and thanks for mentioning about my job title. It is indeed a cool job title, and I have just really enjoyed it since I joined Maryville about 3 years ago now. And as the Chief Digital Transformation Evangelist, my job primarily is to, I report, by the way, directly to the President, Dr. Mark Lombardi, is to advise and assist him in crafting the strategic transformation strategies and the roadmaps, and specifically, and trying to help him realize his vision to build the nation's first blockchain university. And we can talk a little bit in details later, but however, for this job, and really is just to help in a university who is already well on its way for digital transformation, and then just to add some very interesting projects, say, for example, that we have gone through several rounds of what we call it as the lighthouse projects, and to create digital employees to provide 24/7 those kind of online assistance to our students based on their needs. And then we have also created a kind of a contactless environment by implementing what we call it as a student digital ID, and of course then the blockchain university initiatives. All these, the significance of all these have actually helped throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, we started this about 3 years ago. That was before the COVID-19 pandemic first started, and it just worked really well to help the university to create this kind of contactless environment to prevent the spread of the disease, and then also help move the education online so quickly. And so I'm happy to be here to discuss more about that. And as part of the whole initiative that Dr. Lombardi has set goal, right? And we want to make sure that we want to support students with all of their academic credentials to be readily verifiable, to help them, finding the jobs and or pursuing more advanced study easily. And as he has been very famously said that we want to make student life in the classroom as challenging as we can, but we also want to make their lives outside of the classroom as easy as we can. So just take this journey as the whole digital transformation, really trying to make our student lives easier. And also, as for the institutional efficiency, and he has set goal that he wants to have the institutional business processes and student services in particular to be automated at least by 50%, if not more. And that is, of course, a very ambitious goal. And given that we have so many different business processes, and many of them are still heavily, involve manual intervention, right? So, but it's just a blockchain. It's just the right tool, and with the power of a smart contract to help with that. And of course, I also want to talk a little bit about my journey when I first started with blockchain. And it was from my previous job when I was the CIO at Central New Mexico Community College. And at that time, there was a strategic, goal in the college's strategic plan is to help students really truly create a student-owned credentialing solution. And blockchain is just right there to help us achieve that goal. So we actually joined earlier, and in some of the initial kind of institutions with MIT and with one other university actually in Australia, and and then plus the CNM, Central New Mexico Community College. And we started this blockchain journey, and then to get students and credentials, degree, diplomas on the blockchain, and immediately they can use it to verify when they are looking for their jobs. And I personally talked to several employers and asked them why they would like this kind of a solution, because it's such a new technology. But then they told me for two reasons. Number one, it saves them time, right? It just verification takes only seconds. And the number two, of course, it saves the money. The verification is all free. So all that, and of course, I can, give you much more details as we continue this conversation.
Yeah, it's just what I love about the Central New Mexico Community College. I've got that name right for the institution, I think.
Yes, Central New Mexico.
Okay. Yes, that you had the title CIO there, but you were serving as this digital evangelist in charge. This has been an ongoing passion and area of expertise for you, and it's interesting to see all these different projects. I know that you consult on some to other institutions. So before we dive into, I definitely want to get into the details of some of the exciting work that you've already done at Maryville and the results there. But And even that includes some impressive ROI. But I have to admit that before I spoke with you, my assumption was that higher ed is light years away from using any blockchain technology in any sort of real, tangible way, like you talk about. So many times when I'm talking with CIOs, people in your position, other technology leaders, the recurrent theme and the frequent frustration is they feel their institutions are so far behind and under-resourced when it comes to their enterprise counterparts in terms of realizing these benefits of whether it's cloud computing or automated technology like AI, other things. They're like, yeah, it's great, but we've got to do so many things before we can even consider doing that. I I have to admit though, when I heard all the compelling proof and examples of what you've shared with me, I've come around and I must admit I'm like a convert at this point. I'm a total optimist about this. I've become very jaded. But you have reinvigorated me to really believe that this can change things for the better and can do things probably faster than a lot of us think. So, can you share with our listeners some of those reasons why you see this I don't know if we call it a critical mass yet, but you gave me painted such a great picture of the momentum that has happened that's there. And can you just describe that growing national awareness, some of the funding initiatives that you see that are really moving this forward?
Sure, sure. As a matter of fact, I uh, really appreciated the efforts such as yours, right? And uh, even this conversation will help, promote awareness among the higher education leaders, which I think is very critical at this point. But fortunately, that we're all working together, the federal, national level, and the state level, and of course at each individual institutions. And I just I was invited to present at this 2-day virtual meeting hosted by National Science Foundation. And the topic there is blockchain in education and education in blockchain. And the right topic then for all of the higher educations to get involved right now. And of course, for NSF, such a national organization, to put their effort and their funding support behind it, that also helps promoting the blockchain adoption in higher education. And at the same time, that at the national level, that a few years ago, the U.S. Department of Education and has held 2 blockchain summit in Washington, D.C., and I was invited to attend both of them. And those kind of forums provides that opportunity not only for those blockchain advocates to share our experiences and our knowledge, but also help bring the awareness to the education leaders and to the national leaders to help them understand the significant impact of a blockchain on education. And of course, which we will, I hope, talk about the details and the specific, things and efforts that we've made here at Maryville University. And at the same time, you have the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, and many other organizations at the national level and the state level. And I was invited, for example, to the Oklahoma Senate kind of interim study, and to share with them what blockchain can do for education. And I've attended so many national, regional, and local events just to help promote this awareness of blockchain. And as for the funding, and recently, the American Council on Education also provided some blockchain initiative and supported some funding with some funding for some universities and on the blockchain initiative. So these are all very, very encouraging to see. And but of course, we're still at a very early stage. And with the blockchain right now, the general pattern is then that many institutions, either through their on-site and particularly online program offerings, that they are already started teaching a blockchain. And that's very important. And because today, if you go to LinkedIn, just do a keyword search blockchain for the jobs, and there were just hundreds of thousands. And a couple of years ago on LinkedIn, actually blockchain related jobs was ranked number one, the most demanded talents over there. So that's very encouraging here at the Maryville University. And we have started our own kind of a blockchain curriculum. And I myself have been involved and in both helping developing the courses and the curriculum, as well as teaching some of those classes. So all this effort helps to at least to boost the blockchain, making sure that people understand that the blockchain is not just cryptocurrencies, and that there are so many other functions and features that higher education can take advantage of.
You know what also is something that you have told to me in terms of you do all these speaking things. There's so much enthusiasm in response to them, whereas I talk to CEOs a lot where they know the benefits of cloud computing and people can see the impact, but it's sort of like they try to explain what needs to be done for the infrastructure or what they have done. You know, people don't see the work behind it. And it's not one of those things where most people can talk about it and get people excited about, we need a new ERP system. We need to go to cloud-based modernization. They sort of get overwhelmed by the technicalities of it, whereas it seems like the response you get when you talk about this, or when you're around other, you talk going to Oklahoma, for instance, like people don't get overwhelmed like I'm in way over my head. They say, oh my gosh, this is possible. This is cool. This is exactly what we want to do.
Totally. And for example, I just mentioned about the National Science Foundation's today virtual meeting to discuss about the blockchain and education. And I also co-led a breakout session that the participants and overwhelmingly expressed their desire that they want to learn more. And they also expressed their needs that to have some kind of helping hand, some guidelines, and with some kind of a roadmaps and best practices. So in that, I'm just so happy that, here at the Maryville, that we have started this journey a little bit ahead of the other schools, so we can share, right, what we have achieved and also what we have learned. And so some of the lessons that we have learned, so others, they don't have to repeat some of the not necessarily negative, but the redundant processes that we may have gone through. So these are all part of this kind of, getting the technology ready. And you're absolutely right. And with literally every person that I've spoke with, even some of the people who initially doubted about the real value and of a blockchain in education, but after they watched our implementation of the blockchain use cases, and they said, "Wow, here it is." And when I talk to people, I try to even not to mention blockchain technology that much, and use the user's experience, right? Use the ROIs, as you mentioned earlier, and the case studies. And that's more compelling than just trying to sell blockchain as a technology.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that is, I think, the magic ingredient in all this here. When I first reached out to you about doing this podcast, and I said, "Oh, let's talk about blockchain. What do you want to talk about?" You said, "I want to talk about the how. I don't want to talk about the why. The why has been discussed. On that note, so in talking about the how, what you're doing at Maryville started with a roadmap, as all great projects do, with three major stages. So let's start, just give a brief overview of what those three stages are, and then let's walk through a case study for each.
Sure. And as we talked about earlier, that this is all started from this vision that Maryville President Dr. Mark Lombardi had, that in 2019, when he presented his vision to the University Board of Trustees about building the nation's first blockchain university. And of course, people like myself and others here and are working to help achieve that vision. And we started by building the roadmaps, right? We started from planning, and how can we get to this grand vision that Dr. Lombardi has, and and then I developed this roadmap, and with specific three stages. And we started from stage one with the relatively easier task, which is just to start moving or issuing all academic credentials on blockchain so they can be readily shareable and verifiable. This is very important. We want to make sure that our student credentials that is tamper-proof, is immutable, and can be verified instantaneously. And so we're not just talking about a degree, diploma, transcript, but we're also talking about digital badges, certificates, and some of those skills-based. And we also added a couple of other things that I think are also important for your audience. One is the skills artifacts, right? And there's a growing demand from employers today that instead of just a piece of paper to say what you have learned and what you can do, and they want to see some kind of evidence. And then verifiable artifacts such as video clips, sound bites, and even programming codes. And then students can prove to say, I used to tell the story about the leadership, training, and to talk about the endurance and the persistence and those kind of things. And what would be better if you can show a video clip if someone has joined a Boston Marathon, and just show that towards the finish line, somebody dashed through. Doesn't matter what the numbers, but somebody has participated in a Boston Marathon and completed, and then that shows that the person has that kind of ability to endure and then to be able to finish that kind of very tough work of running a marathon. So showing is much better than just to tell. So that's the stage one. And the stage two, that as I mentioned earlier, that our president wants to automate the student services and the business processes by 50%. And the smart contract is just a right tool to help running all this automation. And also there's some added benefits in addition to what we talked about, this being on the blockchain, being immutable, being kind of verifiable. But because it's on the blockchain, it runs on its own and without relying on a third-party piece of software. So then the university doesn't have to pay the annual subscription fee or support fee for the third party. And then also that because it's blockchain on, it's the smart contract on blockchain, it's just reliably and consistently running by itself with little or no additional needs for any additional support. It's just, running the process on its own. And of course, there are capabilities to later to modify if we need it. But so that's the stage 2, is to automate the business processes and by leveraging smart contract. And the stage 3 is tokenized education. And then, as we have all heard, the hypes about the NFTs and about the Web3, about the even the DeFi, and as well as DAO, like decentralized autonomous organization, and all that. Actually, we are actually right in this stage right now, 3, to work with the faculty members, professors, to develop certain courses, tokenizing some of those learning unit, and then create a stackable module, and then that helps to create a modular learning, so learners can have multiple ways to create a smart pathway for their academic to achieve their academic successes. So just very briefly, and these are the 3 stages that we have built on the roadmap to achieve this grand vision of Blockchain University.
And we know roadmaps are often, I mean, I think of them sometimes, it's like when you hire a contractor to build a new house or do a remodeling, like they're usually longer than planned, but that's another area where Maryville being one of the firsts, and these projects where you all seem to have stayed on task, on target. So now I want to get more into this nitty-gritty of where the rubber meets the road. For every stage in the roadmap, you have compelling case studies. You talked about the first one with you called them the low-hanging fruits, these credentials. And I love this 5-second on-demand transcript solution. So my understanding is that these credentials can be issued on blockchain today. And as you mentioned, they're immutable, also known as like tamper-proof. They're student-owned, they're secure, they're ready, verifiable, and shareable. So having gone to university many moons ago, was shocked when I first started looking into technology and where it's at in higher ed, that it's still the case. Like if you need a transcript, you still have to like maybe even write a check by hand. I don't know and then there's this piece of paper that has to be snail mailed, or maybe it's, a PDF if we're getting a little bit crazy here. But tell us a bit about that transcript, why it's a problem, what you were able to do with the blockchain there, and then we can talk a little bit about the results. But let's start with those 2.
I would be happy to. That's actually one of the use cases that I am mostly proud, because again, when we are talking about a blockchain technology, what we really should focus is really on what can it do, right? What kind of benefits can our students, faculty, and the staff and other stakeholders can enjoy from the implementation of a blockchain. And so yes, we consider all of the academic credentials in our stage 1 to some extent, because that is a much easier task. And as I mentioned, that I had already implemented degree diplomas at the Central New Mexico Community College, and prior to joining Maryville. So we actually got that up and running pretty quickly, and we partnered with then what is called the Learning Machine, which has now been acquired by Highland, and to implement a solution that was initially developed in the MIT's Media Lab, and which is called a BlockSearch. And we got that up and running literally in just a few weeks. And, so, but however, as we all know that when we're talking about learning credentials, and probably the most important piece is the transcript, right? When you apply for jobs, or when you pursue your advanced study, and what your employers would need is that they want, after they decided to hire you, and then they said, well, you need to send us your official transcript, and not necessarily your diploma or of a degree. And of course, the transcript solution is also a little bit more involved in terms of technology because it has to tap into the student record system, and then also in the events when the students have some kind of a holds and then needs to tap into some other systems. So the major challenge really is for the students, and particularly for the digital native students today, that the time it takes, and also the cost, right? So,
right.
when a student is getting ready to start a job and they need that transcript in their hand immediately and now, right? So anytime that would take for them to receive that transcript, it would be the time, the delay for them to start any new job. So these are the major challenges. And then on top of that, and we have all heard the stories of how, many and of those credentials, including the transcript, have been, really just fake, and they're being manipulated, being altered, and so tempered in different ways, including even the PDF format document as a digital version that there's certainly ways out there. Then and plus there are also kind of the what we call it as diploma mail, right? And those kind of online businesses, and they help create. The reason they can do that precisely is because those credentials cannot be easily verified and cannot identify who actually is the issuer, the original, or to use a term as one of the characteristics of a blockchain, the provenance, right? And where was this piece of transcript or degree diploma originated from? And most of the time, people will have to find time and to call, and of course maybe send an email to the original institution and wait for them to get a response back, and that is also further delay. So these are the challenges for the current transcript system. So for us to say we use blockchain to address those verification issues, to address those provenance issues, security issues, and those are all great. But however, we also took the opportunity to look at how we can improve the existing transcript solution by significantly, cutting down the time it would take. That's where the 5 second that we actually run the side by side, and so the students now they just send a request and to the transcript system, and then in 5 seconds, and the process will complete, and then they will get an email in their email box, and then that email comes not from any third party or any service providers, but comes directly from the original issuer. In this case, is Maryville University. So to the employer or any other recipients of this transcript, they will not only get this information directly from the university, but also there is a quick button for them to verify, and it takes seconds for them to go through 6 stringent verification process. And in that process, the first thing they will identify is that is this transcript or this credential originated from Maryville University. That's the number one. And of course, during this process, it has the content of this transcript ever been altered or been changed. And with blockchain technology, as we all know, they cannot even move a single dot or add space, or otherwise the verification process will fail. And then the recipient won't be able to actually see that transcript or credentials online. And it is just that reliable. So again, the bottom line here is that it solves the student problem that they have to wait first and foremost. And then it also helps cut down the cost. And in implementing this solution, we essentially cut down the cost for Maryville to issue a transcript for student by at least 40%. And we'll get into the details of ROI later. But the significant impact here is that this is an on-demand 24/7. So as a student from Maryville, they don't have to worry about, oh, is this a weekend or is this after hours that they have to wait for the next day? And that they can just request a transcript anytime. As a matter of fact, if you watch the administrators, the kind of a dashboard, and the students, they request a transcript or any other credentials anytime they want it throughout the day. There was no such a thing as daytime and nighttime. And for many adult learners, and the nighttime is the best time for them to, work on academic, learnings.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, it is that they expect it, right? But you've made it so easy for them that they're probably thinking, of course, well, it was always this way, which is, as we know, not the case. One other thing.
Can I just share a story?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I attended one of the meetings with, this is the Maryville Provost leadership group meeting. And so we were talking about some of those smart contract solutions. And so I used the term, I said, can you believe or do you still remember how? And several vice presidents says, of course we still remember, because we implemented this solution just last year. So we still remember those kind of tedious, laborious, the process that we had to go through. Exactly just as what you said, that now it makes it all sound and look so easy, but it really solves a huge business challenges and problems.
And that is a great segue into the ROI thing here on some of these numbers. Like you mentioned, just looking at the numbers here, there were 4,121 total transcript requests. Was that over the course of a year or 6 months?
Oh, this
is a lot.
A time when I sent this to you over the course of a year. Yeah.
A year. So, I mean, that's a lot. They used to cost $5. They now cost $3. Like, you have 180 hours saved in staff time at $15 an hour. Without going into all the numbers, basically what it ended up with is this, you have a tangible ROI on this, that you've actually saved money. And when we hear the promise of other things, whether it's cloud infrastructure, saving money, there's usually a big upfront investment required. And I think that it's very important here when we're talking about your ROI numbers to acknowledge the fact that, as you've said to me, like a lot of these don't really have any cost upfront. Like there's no budget line number needed. There is staff time that is needed, but you're using the same staff people, it sounds like, for these as you were who were doing all the work before. So there's actually, there's not a big cost of entry in this.
Yes, just to clarify, actually at the Maryville students don't pay any money for the transcript.
Okay.
And university pays, but however, the calculation is very interesting. And traditionally, that a student on average, and when they started looking for jobs, they normally would request 3, 4, or even more transcripts, right? Because they want to send those to different employers and so forth. So, which means then that the Maryville had to pay for each of the transcripts, even though it's free of charge to the Maryville student, but the university had to pay. And now that we have created this blockchain-powered transcript solution, it has not only cut down the per transcript costs, but because of the the verification capability, because of the provenance and all the other features, when we created this one, we hand this transcript to our students and put it into their hands, and they can store it in their email or their digital wallet, and then they don't need to come back and request anymore. So it saves money in different multiple ways for the university. So even though we can get into the details and we use some very conservative number, but really the bottom line here is that, as what you just said, that the ROI is really pretty positive, and overall, then an institution can achieve their return on an investment in less than 2 years, and in some cases, as we will discuss about our faculty transcript, is that is actually less than a year. And another thing I also wanted to add to what you just said. Yes, we sometimes we tend to think that we need to have a perfect solution to start. And as Maryville President Mark Lombardi would say, that don't let the perfect be the enemy, right, of good.
Good, yeah.
So we can start any solutions, and then there's another kind of a lesson learned or experience that we can share as a best practice that actually was listed in my 7 criteria, which I will talk about later. That we partnered, with just so we develop what our roadmap and how we're going to achieve it, and what are some of the business functions, and then work with the student services and the business functional faculty groups, and to identify those processes and streamline, optimize all of that. Is what the university can do. And then get to the final point, doing the coding, doing the technical, hardcore technical stuff. And then we partnered with a business that's much more experienced than what might have been the internal IT staff who will have to go through this kind of trial and error to learn and to pick it up. So I just want to clarify on that point. There were some upfront costs for the partnership, but however, those are not certainly not into the hundreds of thousands, or even in some cases tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and that's an important clarification to make. What I like too is, when you're talking about ROI and all these cases you've laid out, you separate them into tangible and intangible benefits. And I think both are tangible, but you've been very particular with your tangible in terms of, okay, these are like the real numbers. The intangible benefits, though, you've touched on those a little bit. And I think before we move on, I want to talk about smart contracts yet, but I just want to make sure that we emphasize the fact, when we're talking about intangible benefits here, where the students not having to wait. I mean, when we're talking about being for digital natives, being student first, being respectful of their time and experience and what they're looking to achieve out of the education, like that impact is so obviously clear from the efficiencies that happen on the back end. It's not just making everyone's jobs less tedious or less time consuming. It's about, just the factor, if I were going out into the workforce today and I was a graduate of Maryville and I'm trying to get a job, and as you pointed out, like all these fields where they need tons of people, my university gives my transcript and all this information on the blockchain. I think going to an employer, I'm going to look like, wow, this is someone who comes from an environment that's really forward thinking and gets it. That in and of itself, I think, is very tangible. And we can't quantify that in numbers, but it just seems very obvious. And I wanted to make sure we emphasize that point too. Dr. Ho provided us with so many excellent examples and proof of tangible value at his university during our discussion. In fact, there were far too many to include in just one podcast. So, with that in mind, we will continue our conversation on blockchain with Dr. Ho next month in part 2 of our Top of Mind podcast series on the power and benefits of blockchain technology in higher education. We hope you'll join us to hear more, and don't forget to check out all of our episodes, blogs, and resources at thetambolinigroup.com.